does have somebody else. It will be some kind of older, really rich man.
Tycoon.
Yeah,
well, an Arab prince.
You watch.
She has used her power to leapfrog over them on Harry's behalf. This is totally outrageous behaviour.
I know for a fact that there have been meetings with billionaires in Los Angeles.
Harry just can't give her anything else anymore. He's served his purpose. His purpose is over, and they're no longer aligned in purpose. So for her, it's time to move on.
I'm not afraid of Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is a third-rate, shall we say, greaser and bully.
Been to undermine the very people who gave this third-rate actress credibility and status, and that, I think, is unforgivable.
Meghan is driving Harry to his absolute destruction, and this is something that his family has feared for a very long time.
She's what I would call a ruthless social climber, who just when people are no longer appropriate parts of her circle, they have to be expunged.
These really successful men out here who Meghan Markle would love to glom onto and she would ditch Harry for in a second.
There is no doubt that Meghan has always used her femininity. There's no doubt that she has always been a very busy girl.
A royal show goes live on air, and the host says it outright. I know for a fact there have been meetings with billionaires in Los Angeles. Meetings, not parties, not red carpets, meetings.
Obviously, she can say, well, look, I'm needing professional investment or all of that type of thing. But Burrell's suggestion and your suggestion seems to be also if something romantic presented itself.
She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billionaire, like you say, who actually will just keep her in the manner to which she'd like to become accustomed.
And sitting right there, as he says, it is the woman who wrote Prince Harry's biography. She spent 2 years with him. From everything she has ever written, she has always seemed sympathetic to Harry. Yet she doesn't challenge a single word. Instead, what she says next is even more surprising.
She doesn't want a pauper. She doesn't want another pauper Angela like Harry.
Exactly.
That he's not rich enough for her, okay?
It gets trickier because these billionaires can sense one thing. When you're not looking for a partner, you're looking for a solution.
Meghan has been chasing very wealthy men for a long time now. Angela Lavin says she doesn't know whether they weren't interested in Meghan or whether Meghan wasn't interested in them, but she's still holding on to Harry. Music, and according to her, there's one reason why. She still hasn't found the right person.
I think she's been after people who are extraordinarily rich for quite a long time now. And I don't know whether they're not interested in her or she hasn't fancied them, but she's still hanging on to Harry because she can't find the right person.
Read that again. Not still in love with him.
Still hanging on.
The right one, according to them, hasn't appeared yet. Diana's former butler had already said something similar on television. Paul Burrell worked for the royal household for 10 years, and he believes he understands how life behind palace doors really works. Then he makes an even stronger claim. It won't be enough for Meghan. She'll move on. Her next step is a billionaire.
I think it won't be enough for Meghan and it won't be enough for Harry. And she will just go off and her next step is a billionaire because she's got millions. So why not step up to a billionaire? And why not go for politics? Why not become governor of California?
Then another royal correspondent adds to it on the same program. According to him, Meghan is always thinking about what comes next. She always has a plan. And in his words, that plan always includes the man she's with.
And we know that she is developing friendships, shall we say, with numerous billionaires who could, of course, come in handy for lots of reasons.
So why now? Look at who she's married to in 2026. During a podcast, Harry was asked a simple question. What do you do for a living? He couldn't give a clear answer. He mumbled something about being a duke, then said he was a Prince of England, and then stopped. 41 years old.
He is aimless. He doesn't know what he's going to do. I always see him like a kind of well-trained racehorse in the way that he doesn't know what to do outside the tracks. And Montecito is very much outside the track.
He was paid £50,000 to speak at a property conference. When Harry and Meghan first arrived in California, his public appearances were reportedly worth far more. That's how much things have changed. And according to these claims, the royal family has no interest in bringing him back. Not the king, not the queen, and not William and Catherine either.
Harry came from this very busy world of the royal family with lots to do. Even in his spare time, he could play polo and do whatever he wanted. He sat in Montecito, twiddling his thumbs, thinking, what do I do next? What is my role? Where is my work?
Ingrid Sert has spent 40 years editing a magazine covering the royal family, and she summed it up in one sentence. Meghan has got to hang on to Harry because he is her entree. Then she asked, what is she otherwise but a starlet? Those words were spoken years ago, but today that entree, as critics see it, has already been used. She married a prince. Now she's left with a man who can't even explain what his job is. So the question is, what does someone in that position do next?
And that ridiculous story about how they first met. The whole thing was a tissue of inaccuracies, to be polite, because, of course, I got the real story that he got a blind date and was called up and all that. And this is the other thing, which is one of the many, many lies she tells, that she arrived in London, full career, single girl, wasn't interested. Of course, she'd been coming to London since 2013, hunting for a man to marry. She wanted an Englishman. She was on a man hunt.
To understand where this ends, you first have to see where it began. According to this account, it didn't begin with love. It began with a plan, and that plan was already in motion years before Harry had even heard her name. Then she arrived in London. Those aren't my words. That's how people who knew her at the time describe it.
Meghan has been blessed and privileged. I'm going to treat people as I would want to be treated. She then turns the other way, which just shows a lack of class.
She didn't
and
like it.
Yeah, you can take the girl out of the gutter, right?
But remember, she was treating people like this before she was in the royal family. That's the thing.
True.
This is part of
Hollywood?
her personality.
This is part of Anal earlier this year. A panel of royal commentators looked back at how it all started. The first name they mentioned wasn't a prince. It was footballer Ashley Cole. According to them, he was the person Meghan was interested in when she first arrived in London. Then came September 2015, 1 o'clock in the morning. A message suddenly landed in Piers Morgan's inbox, one he never expected. You can't argue with a timestamp. Then comes the part that probably should have made headlines, but somehow never did.
These pictures that I'm about to show you have been banned from the internet. They were scrubbed, but now they're back. They're finally out there. They couldn't keep these files hidden.
Before she had even met Harry, she reportedly said something to her own agent. Tom Bauer included it in his book, citing the woman who says she heard it herself. I've Googled Harry. I've gone deeply into his life. Not just a quick search. She said she'd gone deeply into it. She had researched him long before there was ever a first date. According to this account, that wasn't a crush. That was preparation.
She genuinely did get duped in some sort of way. She thought that she was marrying a multi-billionaire. That's how she saw Harry. Unfortunately, the reality of when she came to him, he was living in Frogmore Cottage with his sort of stash and his picked-apart couch. She found very quickly that he, first of all, is not a cash cow. He's got some inheritance. And second of all, he's useless outside of the royal gates and totally useless in America.
Lady Colin Campbell has followed the royal family for 40 years, and she asked what she believed was the most important question. Would Meghan have been interested in Harry if he hadn't been Prince Harry? Nobody in the studio answered.
Nobody had to.
Then Lady C described what she believes is Meghan's approach. I'm not giving away the milk for nothing. I want something in return. I know what I want and I get exactly what I want. Then she summed it up in 3 simple words. Very transactional. And one story from Meghan's acting days adds even more to that picture.
Her demands, this director said, were worse than any other actor he had worked with, and he had worked with true A-listers. She would demand private jets if there was not a first-class flight available.
One story from Meghan's acting days fills in the rest. While filming with a small production in Eastern Europe, she reportedly asked for a private jet. The producer had to tell her his company couldn't afford to fly her privately from London and that the request was unrealistic as the story was later told. She thought she was Beyoncé. At the time, she was still working on basic cable.
Think about that.
And he was like, Are you kidding?
Who
Like, you
are
think
you?
our small production has the ability to fly you on a private jet? Like, you're nuts.
But
That's how
she
she
thinks she's
thinks.
Beyonce. She
does.
thought she was Beyonce then. And then she is a social climber and she wanted to marry.
I just thought this woman is really doing something quite dreadful to Britain, and Harry has fallen in love with her in a ludicrous way and has gone along as her accomplice.
May 19th, 2018, Windsor, 600 people inside the chapel, with millions more watching around the world. Now take a closer look at who was actually sitting in those pews. Her guest list to her wedding showed her real ambition was to be a star in California. Tom Bauer counted the guest list. According to his account, many of Harry's friends were left off the invitation list while Meghan's Hollywood connections filled the seats. Oprah Winfrey, George Clooney, even several of her own agents, her agents at a royal wedding.
Her guest list to her wedding showed her real ambition was to be a star in California.
Tom Bauer counted the guest list. According to his account, many of Harry's friends were left off the invitation list while Meghan's Hollywood connections filled the seats. Oprah Winfrey, George Clooney, even several of her own agents, her agents at a royal wedding.
All my life, and then Oprah Winfrey had met them once. She was a guest. The Clooneys, the guests. I mean, never met them before, but they were the guests. And, I thought to myself, this all showbiz rubbish.
Tina Brown, the former Vanity Fair editor, looked at that same guest list and reached an even harsher conclusion. She wrote that those guests weren't a picture of the friends Meghan already had. They were a picture of the friends she wanted to have. Think about that for a moment. On her wedding day, according to Brown's view, the royal chapel was filled with people she hoped to build relationships with. That's a striking observation.
Not in a million years did Meghan think that she was going to score Prince Harry. She thought she was going to score Andrew until Fergie put a stop to it.
Andrew Morton has been writing about the royal family since the days of Diana. And in the end, he summed it all up in just 5 words. A networker to her fingertips.
But she had one amazing ability, which was to find a man who needed her. And she played him brilliantly. The actress was sensational.
And it worked.
That's the part people often overlook. Just look at the timeline. In 2004, there was a Los Angeles producer with a powerful address book. Then in 2012 came Marcus Anderson, the man who decided who got through the doors at Soho House.
This guy has been around all of the time. Isn't that suspicious to you? Because it is for me. It is something strange.
Through him came Jessica Mulrin, whose father-in-law had once been the Prime Minister of Canada.
When she started on Suits and she befriended Jessica Mulrooney, her status changed.
Then came 2014 in Dublin. A basic cable actress was sitting on stage as a counselor at One Young World alongside Kofi Annan, Bob Geldof, and Mary Robinson, the former president of Ireland and former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. Convenient, isn't it? 12 years, 7 steps, 1 clear direction. Draw your own conclusions.
This is what Meghan has been doing. She's a piece of Klingon, like she clings to somebody who can get her there. So Meghan manages to befriend one person of a very popular group, and then that person introduces her to the others. And because she's being brought in by somebody they trust, she's welcomed in.
And that Meghan was really trying to kick Jessica out of her life is a bit surprising. This was a woman whose children played a prominent role in your wedding just 2 years before. Meghan dumped her and seemingly has never spoken to her, never spoken about her. And the reason, according to reports, that Meghan wanted Jessica out of her life is quite silly, you could say.
So here's the test. If someone leaves people behind the moment they stop being useful, there should be a trail. According to this account, there is 6 people spread across 30 years, and not one of them has ever sat down in the same room with another.
Jessica was intimately close with the couple, and yet she was unceremoniously kicked out.
Naki Pretty was Meghan's best friend from the age of 2, and even served as a bridesmaid at her first wedding. What she describes as what she calls a complete shutdown. Once Meghan decides someone is no longer part of her life, she says she simply goes cold. Then came the line that sums it all up. There was Meghan before fame and Meghan after fame.
This is Rachel Meghan Markle in 2006 at a Hamptons party where Harvey Weinstein was there. But of course, nobody was mentioning Meghan Markle because she was a nobody.
Lizzie Cundy knew Meghan in London before any of this began. According to her, people served a purpose. Once that purpose was over, she moved on. Millie McIntosh put it in just 4 words. She cut me dead. Gina Neal Thorpe wasn't a friend. She was Meghan's agent in the UK for 2 years, so she watched it professionally. Her view was that Meghan had a habit of moving on to bigger and better things. But it's what she says next that really stands.
20 years ago, that woman would not be able to marry a working member of the British royal family. Even though she's an actress, even though she's playing a role, that is just beneath the British royal family.
Years later, they ended up in the same room again. According to Gina Nelthorpe, Meghan didn't acknowledge her. Instead, the situation was managed so that Harry came over to speak with her instead. Then there's Nick Eddy, a London publicist. He took Meghan to lunch and introduced her to people she couldn't have reached on her own. But after the Piers Morgan episode, he says he experienced something similar himself. And Piers Morgan says he did too.
She has used the British people to make her famous.
She's used the
and
royal
then
family.
and now she's dropped them to keep her relevant. And no wonder she's so hated. And do you know what? It is not going to end well for her. It is not going to end well. And and do you know what? I actually get so angry when I think about her and the way she treated Kate as well.
Piers Morgan says she was the one who first messaged him at 1 o'clock in the morning. Then, according to him, after the night she met Prince Harry, he never heard from her again. She ghosted me, he says. Now, none of this proves a pattern, and I'm not going to pretend it does. Naki pretty sided with Meghan's ex-husband after the divorce. That happens in relationships every day.
Harry was always very insistent in 2017, telling the BBC it was a blind date. All of a sudden, there's a completely new story that they met via Instagram. So which are we meant to believe?
But not only that, can you really believe that photograph of Meghan wearing a droopy nose and things somehow said, oh, that's the woman for me? It's ridiculous. I mean, this action is calculated to undermine my book.
Millie McIntosh has said herself it may simply have been connected to a reality show. And Piers Morgan has talked about this fallout for years. Fair enough. But then look at who's still around. Doria Ragland, Serena Williams, Misha Nonu, and Marcus Anderson, the Soho House executive who opened so many doors for her back in 2012. 14 years later, they're still in the picture. The useful one stayed. Make of that what you will.
Meghan Markle only becomes prominent for Soho House, guys, after she starts being on Suits and she's introduced to Marcus Anderson. And then she gets more consistent and more prominent work, okay? Because then she could be in the presence of Marcus Anderson.
That Harry and Meghan face being snubbed from the biggest Hollywood wedding of the year. Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau are set to wed. It's going to be the Hollywood event of the year, perhaps the Hollywood event of the decade. Major political power brokers are going to be there. Every household name in Tinseltown is going to be there. The big stars from the movies. Everyone you can imagine is going to be there. Do you know who's not going to be there, Mark? Harry and Meghan.
Here's the part almost nobody talks about, and it may be the most surprising of all. She spent 20 years climbing the social ladder. Then this year, it seemed that ladder disappeared. Start with the Met Gala, the biggest night in fashion, the one event almost everyone in that world wants to attend. Meghan wasn't invited. Not at the back, not off to the side. She wasn't there at all.
I mean, she doesn't care about her reputation, does she? Or does she think that the Duchess of Sussex title can take on anything and nothing's going to happen to it? That title, it's already devalued, depreciated, and valued completely. How embarrassing. And no, Meghan Markle doesn't have a model body.
Anna Wintour decides who gets into that room. And this year, Meghan wasn't on the list. According to this account, that's a setback that really matters. Ingrid Seard explained why on air. She said Meghan needs the prestige of being seen at events like that because it raises her value. Think about those words. Raises her value. A magazine editor describing a duchess in the same terms a booking agent might use.
You think this is a big victory, and that somehow all of the stories, which are factual, which is that Netflix has dumped your because Was Never is the worst lifestyle brand in the history of lifestyle brands. Because what was that show called? I can't even remember. With Love Meghan. With Love Meghan was the worst piece of lifestyle TV programming in the history of lifestyle TV programming. And the fact that they even unfollowed you, Ted included, on social media.
The reason, according to this account, is simple. Everything Catherine wears on a royal walkabout is reportedly selling out by the end of the day. And the only thing driving that demand is the 2 words in front of her name. Now for the second example, and this one is even more interesting.
They are not friends with Ms. Markle at all. The friendship is between Meghan and their mother.
They're not going to be at the Grammys. They're not going to be at the Oscars. They're not going to be at private parties, because when anything goes wrong, whenever there's a little bit of a conversation to have, these two lash out and blame.
The Met Gala is now backed by Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez Bezos. According to this account, Lauren Sanchez tried to build a friendship with Meghan years ago, back when invitations from people like her were hard to turn down. She reportedly kept inviting Meghan to events, but the claim is that Meghan rejected those invitations and even described Lauren as trashy. Trashy, the woman who would later marry one of the richest men in the world. It's just so.
It's just so wrong to do what she's doing. She has nothing to stand on her own. You know, she doesn't have her own talent, her own way of just making it herself. I mean, my goodness, you married the prince, okay? Can you just try to do something on your own now? And now you're just, going into the family, his dead mother now. Just is so bad. I can't understand why Harry hasn't already made a move by now, because it's only going to get worse from here. It gets worse.
People don't easily forget something like that. According to this account, Lauren stepped back and moved on. So, the woman who is said to be looking for billionaire connections had reportedly alienated the wife of one of the world's richest men, the very person who had been opening doors for her. Then came the reported fallout with the Kardashians after Kris Jenner's 71st birthday. Elton John and David Furnish, the Obamas, the Clooneys, Oprah, Gwyneth Paltrow. One by one, these relationships are said to have cooled, and the explanation given on air is a harsh one.
Your daddy's dying and you're putting broccoli dip or whatever the rubbish that is. There's the priorities of this woman. What's wrong with her?
According to the explanation given on air, those celebrities never needed Meghan. And the moment a relationship stopped benefiting them, they simply moved on. The example they pointed to was her Netflix series, a major production with a big budget, yet none of the biggest names reportedly appeared in her kitchen. No Elton, no Obama, no Clooneys, not even Serena. According to that argument, the biggest celebrity guest was Chrissy Teigen. And that's why they say it shows where things stand today.
I have no sympathy. Yes, she should give up. She should give up because she sold the world a pup. None of us buy in to what she is selling. And also, she's just really goddamn terrible at it.
Meetings with billionaires in Los Angeles. Yet, according to this account, not one billionaire's wife in America is taking her calls. They argue she never misses a chance to make a new connection. As Lady Colin Campbell tells it, there was even a moment in Jamaica years ago when Meghan walked up to a group of complete strangers at a private club and introduced herself.
Meghan, when she was in Jamaica, for instance, with Harry, they were followed around by a camera crew. I know this because friends of mine saw them at Trial and actually phoned me up.
Right. So, you never believe who just said hello to me. I said who? Oh, Meghan. They had no idea who she was. According to the story, they later called a friend of Lady C's completely puzzled, asking, who is that woman?
So you never believe who just said hello to me. I said, who? Oh, Meghan.
Who on earth was that? That's the question they were left asking. According to the story, the answer was simple. A group of very wealthy people were standing there, and that's why she approached them. It wasn't at a summit. It wasn't at a gala. It was while they were on holiday relaxing in the sunshine with her boyfriend.
I said, do you know her? No, she said, she just came up to us because, she thought, oh, we're at Trial and we're with very rich grand people. So she never misses an opportunity to make a connection.
Do you think that potentially Meghan is starting to realise Harry is not all that and she's going to have to go her own way and pursue a sort of Jeff Bezos type of character for the dreams that she wants to live? Because we know she doesn't want to step foot in Britain again. And I know that she has, but I don't know if she'll be stepping foot in London anytime soon.
Well, I think you're spot on in her terms of her ambition, but I don't think, with due respect, she's known for a very long time that Harry didn't have the money that she would have liked him to have.
Before anyone starts feeling sorry for Harry, stop. According to this argument, he wasn't an innocent victim. He was a grown man with a title, an inheritance, and every advantage. And they argue he knew exactly what he was getting into. Those aren't my words. Their Lady Colin Campbell said live on air. When the host suggested Meghan thought she was marrying a billionaire, but ended up with a spare prince living on an allowance, Lady C pushed back. With due respect, she said before explaining her view. According to her, Meghan had known for years that Harry didn't have the fortune she wanted, while Harry presented himself as a man with far more influence than he actually had. In her opinion, each of them was deceiving the other.
He also initially deceived her into thinking that he was more powerful than he was. And so each of them was deceiving the other, but she deceived him into thinking they could move to America and they could compete with William and Catherine. So William and Catherine would have Britain and the Commonwealth, they would have the rest of the world, and they would be the global royal couple, which of course hasn't happened because Meghan is as incompetent as Harry is in terms of finance.
Read that again. According to this view, neither of them was conned. They both made their choice. They even had a plan. William and Catherine would represent Britain and the Commonwealth. Harry and Meghan would become the global royal couple. That's how the idea is described. Then Lady Colin Campbell was asked who she believed was responsible for everything that followed. Her answer wasn't the one many expected. Mostly Meghan, but with Harry's connivance, not weakness, not a prince who was simply led astray. She has repeated another point more than once. In her view, someone like Meghan needed an enabler, someone who wanted the same thing she did. According to Lady C, Harry didn't stumble into this marriage. He chose it.
Yeah, it's not a sort of romantic, actually. It's gathering money, isn't it? It's nothing to do with romantic. I mean, if you remember, the Queen said to her cousin, the late Queen said to her cousin, I felt that Meghan didn't actually love him and didn't really care for him. That's what what she said. And of course, she's spot on. She just has used Harry as somebody she should tell what to do. And he's adored her. So these types of relationships don't go too well together, do they?
Then Lady C delivered one of her harshest conclusions. Never did two people more richly deserve penury than the two of them. In her view, everything that followed came down to ambition, dishonesty, and betrayal on both sides.
The way they have behaved and the way they have treated the people of this country and their behavior has been just beyond belief.
Completely. I mean, they've actually been routinely dragging the royal family through hell.
I truly believe that when he met Meghan, she whispered into his ear, a 36-year-old mature woman whispered into his ear, Harry, you and I could change the world.
Meghan Markle knew that, and she manipulated him because of that. Then, when she got everything that she wanted, right?
So where does this end? A panel of royal commentators was asked that exact question earlier this year, and none of them hesitated. Just wait, one replied. She'll leave Harry, move on, and find someone else. Probably an older, very wealthy man. No one on the panel disagreed. Then someone summed up the whole story in one line. After 2 homes and more than $100 million in deals, it was never enough.
Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem.
Now, let's be clear about what this is. Nobody has filed for divorce. There is no legal petition, and I'm not going to invent one for a video. What does exist are comments made this year by Harry's biographer, Diana's former butler, a royal correspondent, and Lady Colin Campbell. They all point in a similar direction, differing only on when, not if. Make of that what you will. But here's the part that should really keep Harry awake at 4 a.m.
If Harry were to separate, get divorced, he would be welcomed back by father and son like that. She would be the scapegoat. They'd blame her and everything would be good. They want Harry.
They want Harry. And here's the part that should really keep him awake at night. According to this argument, the royal family's biggest problem was never Harry himself. Donald Trump summed it up in 4 words when speaking to a royal biographer. Oh boy, that wife. Billy Bush, who has covered the royal family for years, put it even more bluntly. He said, William can't stand Meghan and can't forgive Harry for choosing her. Even Angela Lean, despite her criticism of the marriage, still describes Harry as a man who is entrapped.
And the English people, I mean, I was over there when the Queen died. I flew right away when I was working at Extra and covered that whole thing. And it was, the ascension of Charles was right after it. They were almost preparing for two things at once, and loved all the British folk, loved Harry. They still love Harry. They're mad at Harry, but forgiveness will be quick and swift. It's all her. And every person I chatted with in the street, I did tons of MOS. All their bitterness is directed at Meghan.
Listen carefully to where Lady C places the responsibility when explaining why she believes the royal family won't welcome Harry back. According to her, everybody knows he is treacherous. Everybody knows he is unpredictable. She then adds that he is under the influence of what she calls a rather massive malignant force named Meghan Markle. At that point, the host steps in to remind viewers that these are allegations and says,
He is under the influence of various substances, as well as a rather massive malignant substance called Meghan Markle.
That's obviously all alleged. We don't know, but you're right. He has written in Spare that he loves to, he was smoking weed at Courtney Cox's house, and there were some magic mushrooms taking place. And we know that he's actually self-admitted to a pretty textured history with drugs.
And notice where Lady C places the responsibility when she explains why she believes the royal family won't take him back. According to her, everybody knows he is treacherous. Everybody knows he is unpredictable. But she also says he is under the influence of Meghan Markle. Even so, she believes there's still a way out. Harry would be well advised to get out while it's still just about possible, she says. But will he? According to this argument, going back to Britain would mean admitting William was right all along. And they believe he'd rather stay in Montecito for another 10 years than say those words. So he stays. She moves forward, and people keep watching. In the end, they argue Harry was never the final prize. He was just the next step.
And so I just find that you have to find a way to navigate almost evil-like mentality, because that's the kind of person I believe Meghan is, and she's brought Harry into that. I mean, he's come down so far since being with her. I mean, William really has to make a formal break. I am no longer associated with my brother. I love my mother, and, wanting to still honor her memory. But at the same time, he has to be given, the leeway to not be in association with his brother and not try to demonize William.
Now, I want to hear what you think. Was Harry simply a man who got taken in, or was he a grown man who understood the deal, liked what he saw, and agreed to it anyway? Let me know in the comments. And don't hold back if you think he deserves the criticism. I read every single comment. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really helps this channel reach more people interested in how the royal family works. Don't forget to subscribe because there's much more coming this week. Up next, the gala plan for the 30th anniversary of Princess Diana's passing, and the one name on the guest list that reportedly left the Prince of Wales deeply uncomfortable. You won't want to miss.